So we're very excited. We're getting a lot of response on the Da Vinci option, getting emails from Rotarians about their experience with meeting with youngers or elders, and it's just been a lot of fun, so keep up the good work on that. The nuts and bolts of this program is that we're doing this so we can take better care of ourselves, which feeds into better care for our club, which helps us take better care of our community. So that's the essence of what we're trying to accomplish. So I'm going to ask Sean to introduce Eric, and then we'll begin.
Thank you, David. So Eric Zareski, very accomplished gentleman, he's going to be our lead instructor for this program, and so I took some notes because there's absolutely no way I can remember everything that's interesting and unique about Eric. So Eric's been practicing Oriental medicine and yoga for over 2 decades. His intellectual efforts have been devoted to advanced research in systems applied to biology and its ancillary sciences, including, but not limited to, anatomy, physiology, genetics, immunology, and neurobiology, to name only a few. He's very interested in the empirical validation of the principles revealed in the esteemed classics of Chinese medicine and philosophy. His interest in systems thinking is an evolution of his aspiration to integrate seemingly disparate observations and discoveries from wide-ranging evidence-based fields of investigation and bring them together into, to quote Eric, resident luminous totality. The practice of yoga has for Eric served as a catalyst for the cultivation of what could be called a Renaissance mind. The interplay of curiosity, openness, and rigorous analysis may take his investigations in surprising directions, but always yields fascinating and far-reaching insights. Eric has studied yogi in a variety of its forms for over those 2 decades, and that work has led him to further investigate the concept of energy, bringing him to acupuncture as well as herbal medicine, which he's practiced for about 15 years. His contributions to acupuncture span from regulatory functions to international lectures and the writing of numerous articles and books. His present work focuses on integrative approaches while investigating the concept of aesthetics, beauty, and harmony in health, and fostering the unfolding of the true essence within each student. So without further ado, here's Eric Zareski.
Thank you so much. This is very good. Can you hear me okay? Great. So we'll have half an hour to cover a topic that is highly complex and yet presented into a very simplistic or simple manner in terms of what we would like to achieve as a group. So again, I would like to thank you for being here. What we are trying to achieve within the context of the organization is to set up a structure whereby the member as an individual is rendered aware of the possibility of curtailing or tapering down the aging process, specifically the aging process of the brain. And so we're looking at that as a unit and the different elements that will go into doing that. And then as the individual is covered, then we look at the interaction between individuals that create the society, within the society, and then the society in the context of the community. So in doing that, then we were looking at different elements that were at some level quite interesting, because how do we first understand the aging process? How do we look at it in a rational manner? What kind of element do we choose from a variety of elements that may play in terms of positive modulation of the brain? And so we had to choose, basically, and some of the choices that we made are the choices that we have here. They are not limited to the variety of choices that are implemented in terms of aging. However, in the choice that we have, they will always be supported by science. And so one of the things that we have set up for you is a website. And so basically I would like to thank the very dear friends and colleagues that have allowed this to happen here. The inception of this system is David Petrucci, of course, but nothing would have happened without the harmonious, literally philanthropic and genuine work that we have done together across age, across culture, across differences. So this is where I would encourage you to go. This is where our lectures will be posted and where the video will be posted. Videos that also I would like to thank the two of you in terms of your wonderful expertise in working with that. Should you go on the site, you will need to register. The registration will be approved, and that will allow you to access the member part where the video of this lecture and subsequent lecture, as well as this presentation, will be part of. So What brought us into this place is the awareness of the issue. There's an aging process in the overall population, and there's an aging process that has been basically set forth a call for action in terms of population. The aging process is very specific to a variety of club-oriented organizations, which then reinforce our decision to work with that. This is part of some of the articles that are important to take forth, and part of my natural interest in this system was basically to look at the physiology of a person, but also the physiology of a system, and which has a very complex aspect as the system move along with time. And I was like, this is a place to be in terms of looking at that. Now, in the option that we chose, of which we will introduce the first unit today, how do we interact or interface with the brain? We have the building block of which we cannot live without. That will be food, that will be air, and that will be interaction. Interaction with the universe, interaction with one another. Today, we will focus on the building block called food, which is unit 1. Unit 2 will be the air. Unit 3 will be an introduction to the interaction, which is the key to the concept. If we look at the pyramid, those two are the individual. The third one is the group, is the club, of which then moves the next phase, which is the interface with the community. So the first two are important to stabilize the individual. The second one is paramount to move further to create a homogeneous group, of which the Da Vinci program is part of, because it creates the homogenization and the ability to interact with one another. Now, people have raised the question, there are many other ways to work with the process of aging, and this is correct. We just had to choose 3. We had discussion among ourselves as well. We could say, what about exercise? Exercise is there, but we wanted to choose those one because also of the key that is called the ability to look at what happened to a person. So today, we engage in a program and do an evaluation in 6 months and say, how many of you started walking 3 times a week? The ability to do that is not as clear as to change maybe some aspect about eating, some aspect about food. So it's about the ability to look backward, and then in the future, this can all change. Now, please also stop me at any time if my accent is in the way, if I don't speak loud enough. Now, the brain and aging will be impacted by the fact that the gastrointestinal system becomes less efficient, the lung becomes less efficient, and a person, as the person moves in time, may have issue with isolation and a sense of purpose. So we have to look at all that today. We look at the organic system right here. Some of the news here may make you a little bit gloomy, but not totally. Those are the reality of life. Why the brain? And the age of 40 to 50 is a key word. So basically, once you pass age 40 to 50, your brain will become fat and will become empty. Period. There's nothing we can do about that. What we can do is to ensure that the rest of the activity of the brain works as well as possible. The bad news is that the brain is not the only one sharing this doom. We'll see later on that it happens to other organs, and that is why knowing why those organs are doing that may help us contain this. And here is when I said brain become empty and fat, that's what I mean. You have a decrease in the total functional aspect of the brain, and you have an increase, the red line here, of the empty sinews inside the brain. Now, quite interestingly, most people think that taking care of the brain is important. As interestingly, most people don't know how to do that. The brain health is the second, so people will say, I need to take care of my heart, and I need to take care of my brain, and then the rest follows. Here it is. What we are going to offer today is, in terms of the Brain Bonanza, smart supplementing, which means having an understanding of very simple concept that you can bring home and that you can change that. And so that would be the brain booster. The brain booster is about 3 units, or 3 subunits. We have 3 units total until October. We have digestion or internal organ, we have breathing, we have interaction. In the internal organ and digestion, we have 3 subunits. One consists is understanding how to do smart supplementation, understand how to eat better at a very simple level, and understand how to use specific components that are, right or wrong, called nootropics that are addressing the brain. The term nootropics here had also created some debate among us because of some negative connotation around it. However, if you were to do research at the NIH database, that's the term that will give you the most return. So that is one of the rationale of keeping the term there. Now, in terms of smart supplementation, which is today, and we had to arrive all the way here with this, you have to test for deficiency and supplement intelligently, literally. What does supplementing mean? It means we first have to understand what it is that we are at risk of and what can we do for it. The aging of the internal organ follows the aging or parallels the aging of the brain. And it also started in the mid-40s. So midlife crisis is literally quite an interesting concept. Everything changed. And with that comes the acceptance. In terms of internal organs, those that are important for us, and we are not limited to that, are the liver, the GI system, and the kidney. The GI system, nearly 40% of the aging population will have some GI issue. Why is that important? Well, first of all, we are going to go through this very complex system here. That's a GI system. It does a lot of different things. This is the nervous collaboration for the GI system. This is the change of the GI system with time, notably the distension factor here. So what it means is that as we move along this beautiful axis called time, your GI system changes. First of all, in terms of control of the system, you're not as hungry, or you get satiated quicker. That means you feel full quicker, not only because the stomach cannot distend correctly, it sends the wrong signal, but also because the brain is not sending as much hormone. So if you enter the aging process with an anorexic issue, this will culminate into a situation that is very complex as the aging process takes. And there is such a thing as the anorexia of the elderly, which is basically people don't eat because they feel full. You have changed at the level of the structure of the stomach, which means that your stomach also feel, due to that, the food stays longer in there. And then you have change at the level of the absorption as well, which will go further. But all those effects will lead to a dysfunction at the level, or a less functioning aspect at the level of the GI system. Why that matters for us, right here, your digestion falls down, the absorption of what you eat decreases well. And then the consequence of that, drug solubility and absorption might be altered. So that's one thing. And by the way, the reality here is very clear as well. You don't digest as well as you hit much quicker in time. So what we have to do is be intelligent about it. This is pragmatic component. Here it is, small intestine and colon, vitamin D and calcium are decreasing, constipation will take place, and that's just for the level of the stomach. So you have to understand, when we eat, and then it goes into stomach, it gets broken down, it goes into the small intestine, and then depending on the component, it will be taken into the bloodstream by a specific agent. Because the membrane of the small intestine becomes older, and all the components around it become older, you have an impaired absorption of a variety of different things. The key is to understand which one are important or more important. The same thing happened to the kidney. And again here, bad news, This is our kidney. It shrivels. Because it shrivels, it will happen anatomically, it will happen at the level of function, and it will happen at the level of consequence trauma. The trauma of life will make the kidney much less functional, so it becomes smaller. The fascinating aspect of the kidney is that it decreases size in proportion to the overall size of the body, which is fascinating. Nobody knows why. So as we become older and the surface of the body shrinks, the kidney surface shrinks as well. But what's important to know is that the filtration and the excretion aspect of the kidney gets impaired. Here it is, for example, and again, age 40 is 40 to 50 is where all this occurs. So those are just data, they are there for you to look at it. But for example, renal blood flow, 10% decline per decade after 40. So by age 70, if you don't take care of it, you have 30% decline just in the amount of blood flow going there. That happens to the liver as well. So the liver is right here. 1% decrease in blood flow after 40 to 50. 1% of the mass of the liver. All this impair on the function of the liver in terms of the different things. So what does that all mean? We have a GI system that is not absorbing as well. We have a liver that is not breaking down things as well or storing things as well. And we have a kidney that is not secreting through urine or reabsorbing as well. And how is that important? We will take three important factors, and this is what I would wish you to remember today. Three aspects of supplement: B12, vitamin D, magnesium. And here it is, internal organ. Vitamin B12 will be affected by the absorption at the level of the stomach, absorption of basically processing at the level of the stomach, absorption in the GI tract, and the storage in the liver. So for the vitamin B12, for having a vitamin B12 that is sufficient, we want to make sure that we look at the function of the stomach, GI, and liver. Vitamin D, slightly different. It will be the GI system and the kidney. Magnesium, which is ubiquitous in the function of the body, will be absorption, kidney, and then if you have diabetes type 2, that's an additional concern. So an image start to surface. We know that the internal organ decrease in their function, and then we know that we have targeted supplements that will suffer from this. And here's why it's important in terms of the aging of the brain. If we have vitamin B12 deficiency, we increase, or we find, and I'll be cautious in the vocabulary here, we have found, or the research have found, that deficiencies of vitamin B12 go along with all those conditions. That doesn't mean that they create those conditions, but they run parallel to it. Now, depression, vitamin B12. Depression, vitamin D. Magnesium, headache, confusion, poor concentration, ADHD. Magnesium is the captain, the chief of cramps. Any cramp you have anywhere in the body, in terms of your muscle, in terms of your stomach, in terms of your gut, your uterus, all those cramps will call for magnesium. But it doesn't stop there. We have a crossover between the cardiovascular disease, coronary heart disease, and cardiac arrhythmia. That's important because if a person is slowed down in his or her activity, those activities will impact further in your brain function. So, by the way, and we'll see more of this, the picture gets more complicated. Any question here? Here's the next one. Yes, my memory was okay. I was like, this should be the next slide. Add to your natural aging process whatever medication you start taking to compensate. And this is where the key factor becomes, this is the key. Corticosteroids are prevalent in our society in terms of control of a variety of conditions, but it will lead to vitamin D deficiency. Metformin, a magnificent substance for diabetes type 2, however, and there was an article that just popped out 2 weeks ago, shows that metformin impacts quite significantly the vitamin B12 and cognitive function. So you have to make sure you understand that. Same for Parkinson. We have vitamin B12 deficiency related to Parkinson, which is another issue, because if you have a Parkinson person, how do you communicate and make sure that this person is understanding or relating to B12? PPI, proton pump inhibitor, everybody takes it, literally. I mean, a lot of people take this. By the way, our body is lazy by nature, so if you give a proton pump inhibitor system, your body is like, I'm great, I'm not going to do anything anymore, just give it to me. So a lot of people stay on it for a long, long time just as a result of that. But all this and the accumulation of those is not rare, that you are going to be on metformin and then you're going to be on the PPI and then you have a GERD syndrome. Yes?
What's an example of a PPI drug commonly taken?
I don't remember the name, sorry, but I can provide that on the website.
What are the symptoms that those drugs address?
The PPI, it's the acid in the stomach. So basically, when you have when you have too much acid, so you have burning feeling. Thank you. I should have put that down, and I forgot. That's a shame. But I'll complete that. Any other question there? But this is important. Actually, it's the PPI as a whole, the whole class of PPI. With basically what it is, because since it is interfering with the gastric juice, it's interfering with the vitamin B12 absorption system. The vitamin D is more in terms of corticosteroid and anticonvulsant, and magnesium deficiency is more about the diuretic, which are taken quite a lot also. Should you, for example, have a situation where you may have a high blood pressure that is controlled by the magnesium. PPI also, what is not a medication, but it's important to understand, if you take calcium supplements, it will actually offset your magnesium. So you always have a dance that is complicated, all of which end up into the different components. So vitamin 12, beautiful molecule, and cognitive decline, low energy, depression, numbness, again, all those are synergistic or negatively synergistic. They will bring you into a place of confusion. The issue with vitamin B12, we've seen what it may lead to. The issue is that B12 is not found in plant food. So people who are vegetarian or who don't assimilate a lot will have to look for the supplementation. And supplementation, and that what we'll cover later, can be done in a variety of ways. One of them will be the working with a physician. So vitamin D is the same thing. The issue with vitamin D, in addition to everything that we saw, is that the exposure to the sun is not as much when you work with that. So basically, it's not absorbed correctly here, but your skin is not functioning as well either. So basically, the vitamin D synthesis at this level here, the pre-D3 drops by at least 30% in terms of your skin aging process. That, in addition to the fact that you don't go to the sun. You may be tired, you have pain, you don't exercise, you don't go to the sun. So your vitamin D is dropping down. Luckily, we do have a reserve, but it's still dropping down. And again, this is where we want to look at that. It's also quite important in some of the immune situation. Magnesium, same thing, but what most people don't know, that's the general population. 55% of the population in the country is right below RDA. So that would be the daily average. And this is the symptom of magnesium deficiency. Most of it, tingling, which is shared with vitamin B12, and numbness. So what we want to do, in addition, if you indulge in fast food, if you indulge in alcohol, if you jump into sodas, all this, in addition to the medicine, will move you into a place where you are confused. So today's work is about what can I do about this, and this is the pragmatic aspect of here. Going through a place where we understand vitamin B12, magnesium, vitamin D, have a variety of different functions that alter the brain efficacy. What can we do pragmatically? Pragmatically, rely on your physician. And so this is the message that I want to do today. If you suspect through a symptomatology that you have, or a pathology that you may have, or a medication that you take, that you could have as a result of that any of those deficiencies, why wait? Maybe you can have a discussion with a physician and see if laboratory tests can be taken, simple blood test, to see what your level is. And if the case is that there is a deficiency or an insufficiency, the remedy is simple. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to work. You don't have to do anything. You have supplementation that can be adequately prescribed again by your primary healthcare professional. So this is today's presentation. My suggestion is you look into this, or look into someone you know that may have this, because part of our conversation here is about bridging between generations so that we all understand one another. Yes?
We hear ads about Prevagen and how it improves brain health. Do you have any information about what that does, or if it's relevant or whatever?
It is relevant, and I will hold the answer to that question for when we speak about nootropic, which are a variety of things that are out there that may or may not help for the brain, and we will try to address it with the most rigorous manner, so that because there is a lot of abuse in terms of what can people take, not take, things like that. It's the same with Chinese medicine, what kind of herb a person takes. So if you are comfortable with it, I would wish to hold that for when we speak it, within the context we speak it, and keep it here, just to make sure we consolidate. So again, today is about see if you can do something for yourself or someone else in terms of addressing fairly simply things that may be creating discomfort. Next week, we'll be pragmatic with the introduction of several easy components in your regular diet that can booster and promote some of the nutritional aspects. And then the third week, nootropic. Is there a magical solution out there in the market? Maybe, maybe not. I will hold until then. And I will open it up to a variety of questions.
Two questions, actually.
Yes.
First, my brain's not big enough to absorb all this, so I assume we're going to be able to find this somewhere
Yes.
online. Is that
My
right?
brain was not up enough. It will be online within
So
2
we'll be
days.
able to drill down on those slides.
Definitively. So if you don't have the website,
I got it. Yeah,
you have
that part I
okay.
got it was easy.
So go to the website, register,
Okay.
and then you'll be able to access anything that you want.
So my second question has to do with you saying go to your doctor. And my experience has been that the normal general practitioners don't go there unless you ask them to. And in my experience has been they're not really inclined to do the interpretation. I went to a doctor at one point years ago that was more holistic, and that was something he did. And if anybody's ever sat with me at breakfast, they'll see that I have a handful of supplements I take as a result of the blood work that was done. But the blood work that was done 5 years ago, I need to get that updated, but the general practitioner, I don't really have a doctor.
Okay.
So I don't feel that most general practitioners are inclined to suggest you do the blood work to find out about your deficiencies. Is that a correct statement? Or?
It's not my. I haven't met that situation because basically things are evolving, and also because as a result of taking medication, a lot of things happen, and so it would behoove the healthcare professional to look at the picture, and also the dialogue that occurs between the patient and the practitioner is important. It is a partnership. It is about, and a patient is really their first healer, their first doctor. Healing starts by embracing our own responsibility towards health and use the expertise of the healthcare professional to comply with what we are looking for. Yes?
So if you have blood tests and they come out in an acceptable range, is it a good idea to take supplements prophylactically so that you don't?
Not necessarily, because there are research that really show you can actually increase and saturate your system, so you'll have a hyper situation. The only thing that we know doesn't do that is vitamin C. You can take as much vitamin C as you want. We don't know why, but it's not doing anything. So, and there are circumstances where people do damage the physiological, especially the kidney, in terms of filtration by promoting. And again, the body is wise. If that is stable, the least amount of parameters that you change, the better it is, because then you can focus on other things. Yes. Any other question? Any comment? So, next week again, and I encourage everybody to also invite anyone. This is open to anyone, by the way. And then breathing, if you can come, breathing is about something that is never talked about. That's one of my field of interest. I've been studying it for a long time, and it is, if you think about it, there are two sources of energy that come into you, food and breathing. And then after that, you restitute through interaction. So I encourage you to see if you can come. David, everyone, I would like to thank you for being here, for staying so long.
Can you give us to your box?
So come over